Welcome everybody to Scott Cooks. Today we'll be cooking these boneless pork loin chops in our Ninja Foodi. We're going to pressure cook them first to get them tender, and then we're going to bake them with a homemade Kentucky bourbon syrup glaze. We're going to make this ourselves. We're going to do that right now, and I'll show you how easy it is. We're going to make this glaze on the stove. Then we'll let it cool and we can pour it over our pork after we've got them cooked. After we got them pressure cooked. So this starts off, you can use butter or margarine. I'm going to use a little margarine. I got some country crock here. So a little margarine, about a tablespoon or so. Don't worry about melting it or anything. Like I said, this is going to go on the stove top for a couple minutes. So we can get everything combined and get it thick. We're going to get a half a cup of whiskey, your favorite whiskey. I know everybody's likes different things. I like this one. It's inexpensive and it's really good for cooking. And every once in a while you're cooking, you can take a sip. And don't forget, I'm only making enough. I'll probably have too much, but I'm just making enough to glaze those 5 pork loin chops that I got. Anyway, half a cup of whiskey. Make sure that's bourbon whiskey, by the way. This won't taste too good unless it's bourbon whiskey. And your favorite, you can use maple syrup. You can use what I'm using, this log cabin stuff. Any kind of syrup will work, just trying to get it thick and sticky. And for this one, we're going to go with 3/4 of a cup. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's going to melt down a little bit as we cook it. So half a cup of bourbon, 3/4 cup of your favorite syrup. In the pot we go. You can add a little chopped onion to this if you want. You can put a little chopped garlic in there if you want. I'm going to leave it pretty basic for this one. Only thing I am going to add for a little additional flavor is, of course, my favorite seasoning. Not going to measure this. Just going to put in what I think I need. About that much. I'll take my spoon with me. Let's get over to the stove. All right, make sure you got a whisk handy. Over a medium-high heat. We're going to bring this up to a low boil, and then we're going to drop it to a simmer. And then we're going to simmer it for at least 5 minutes. We want to get it pretty thick. As you can see, it's pretty thin right now. So we're going to evaporate a lot of that alcohol out of it, leaving the flavor. And of course, what you're seeing there is just the butter still melting. And let's get that up to a boil. All right, here comes the low boil. You know you're there when you can stir it and it's still boiling. I'm going to go ahead and cut the flame back a little bit now. And we're going to drop this down to a simmer. And you want to keep stirring because that syrup will burn. Okay. Now let's control the heat a little bit. That's a low simmer right there. All right, we're going to give that about 5 minutes, maybe a little more. We want to reduce it slightly and thicken it up. I'll be stirring along the way. Add about a cup of water to your Ninja Foodi pot. Take your reversible rack, drop it in, and we're going to be using both because I can't fit them all onto one piece, so we'll be pressure cooking them in layers. And there we go, we got them layered up in there. We're going to pressure cook them like that, and we're going to use bake roast feature, and we're going to bake them like that as well. Well, let's pressure cook these guys. Slide my slider over to pressure. I want to give them 15 minutes under pressure and probably 10 or 15 minutes under natural, meaning I won't do anything. And that's all. Got to set my valve on the top to seal, and away we go. We've pulled the rack from the Foodi. I've drained the water from the Foodi. Look at those chops. Don't they look good? And I'm preheating the Foodi right now on 350 degrees bake roast while I get the glaze on these. All right, to put the glaze on, I thought of all kinds of different ways to do it. And then I just thought, you know what? Why don't I just dunk them? So I've got the look how thick this is. So I've got this going in the pan. We're just gonna dunk them. Then we're gonna reload our rack. Make sure we get a really good amount on there. And then we'll reload our rack with the chops and get it back into the foodie. Well, there we go. Straight out of the foodie. Pork loin chop, boneless pork loin chops with my own homemade bourbon syrup glaze. Let's cut into these. Very much looking forward to this. So these have a little crisp on it from the bake roast that I just did. And oh yeah, just basically just pulled that apart. Super tender. Perfectly cooked inside. Let's try it out. All right, here we go. So tender. Wow. That flavor. That flavor is great. That is a flavor I have never been able to buy in a store, that's for sure. When you make your own, you really get something unique. Give it a try.